For decades, Iran and Israel have waged a shadow war, espionage, sabotage, and proxy battles shaping the Middle East. But in 2025, a single catastrophic event, a miscalculated strike, a high-profile assassination, or a devastating cyber attack, could ignite open conflict. This is not a distant threat. Military strategists and world leaders are urgently preparing for the possibility. The stakes? A war between two formidable powers: Israel, with its technological edge and undeclared nuclear arsenal, and Iran, with vast conventional forces and a powerful network of militias. A direct clash would unleash destruction, draw in neighboring countries and global superpowers, and test the foundations of international law. The world watches, hoping fragile peace holds. The path here has been long. What began as cautious cooperation in the mid-20th century has curdled into decades of bitter enmity. Proxy skirmishes have grown more frequent and deadly, from the Golan Heights to the Persian Gulf. Each move is a calculated risk in a dangerous game. The question is no longer if they will clash, but when, and what the world will look like after. A war of this scale would not be contained. It would spill across borders, devastate economies, and shatter lives. The humanitarian cost would be immense. We must examine the potential consequences, not to incite fear, but to understand what's truly at stake. Once, Iran and Israel were strategic partners, united by suspicion of their Arab neighbors. The 1979 Islamic Revolution changed everything, replacing the Shah's monarchy with a regime fundamentally opposed to Israel's existence. This shift turned partnership into bitter rivalry, fueling decades of proxy warfare. Iran built a network of allies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Syria and Gaza, arming them to threaten Israel from all sides. Israel, in turn, has responded with airstrikes, covert operations, and a relentless campaign to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Each action fuels a dangerous cycle of escalation, setting the stage for a potential full-scale war. The battle lines are drawn, not just between two nations, but between two visions for the Middle East. A war between Iran and Israel would begin not with tanks, but with cyber attacks and missiles. Israeli hackers would target Iran's infrastructure, aiming to blind and disrupt before the first shot. Iran would retaliate, striking Israeli financial systems and utilities. Simultaneously, the skies would fill with drones and missiles. Israel would target Iran's nuclear sites and missile batteries with stealth fighters and precision strikes. Iran, lacking air superiority, would unleash a massive barrage of rockets at Israeli cities, aiming to overwhelm defenses and inflict civilian casualties. Israel's Iron Dome would intercept many, but not all. The opening exchange would be swift, chaotic, and devastating, blurring the line between battlefield and civilian life. The psychological toll would be immense. Terror in Israeli cities, humiliation in Iran as prized facilities are destroyed. This would shatter any hope of a limited conflict, driving the region toward wider catastrophe. The momentum toward escalation would be unstoppable. A war between Iran and Israel would quickly draw in other powers. The United States, Israel's closest ally, would face pressure to intervene, providing aid, intelligence, or even direct military support. U.S. forces in the region would become targets for Iranian retaliation, risking a broader American involvement. Iran's proxies, Hezbollah, militias in Syria and Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen, would open multiple fronts, overwhelming Israel and destabilizing the region. Sunni Arab states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE would be caught in the crossfire, possibly offering covert support to Israel while fearing Iranian attacks. Russia and China would maneuver for influence while Europe would brace for economic and refugee crises. The conflict would become a proxy for global rivalries with consequences far beyond the Middle East. The immediate global impact would be economic chaos. The Strait of Hormuz, a vital oil choke point, would become a war zone, threatening a third of the world's oil supply. Oil prices would skyrocket, triggering global recession and market panic. Cyber attacks could cripple banking systems, compounding the crisis. Political fallout would paralyze international institutions and shatter fragile alliances. A massive refugee wave would overwhelm neighboring countries in Europe, fueling instability and extremism. The humanitarian crisis would be immense, with millions displaced. The war's consequences would reach every corner of the globe. The greatest tragedy would be the human cost. Cities would be devastated, homes and hospitals destroyed, and families torn apart. Infrastructure, power, water, roads would collapse, plunging millions into crisis. Hospitals would be overwhelmed, shortages rampant, and society would unravel under constant bombardment. The specter of nuclear escalation looms. If Israel's existence were threatened, the use of nuclear weapons could become a reality, risking global catastrophe. Even a limited nuclear strike would poison land and people for generations. War is never abstract. It is suffering, loss, and despair for ordinary people. The true cost is measured in shattered lives, not territorial gains. Peace requires courage, dialogue, and empathy. The alternative is devastation beyond imagination. Different flags, one future, one humanity. Choose peace, unite the world. Follow at How to Tai 1.